Hello everyone, my name is Mike. Some of you guys might know me as Mike D Crypto. Some of you might know me as the dude who created WaxDAO. Whatever it is that you know me as, in this video you can call me the dude who's about to teach you how to write smart contracts on the Wax blockchain, because that's exactly what we're about to learn. I'm going to teach you guys how to go from zero knowledge to being able to write your own smart contract on Wax. And technically on EOS also, since it's basically the same thing. Now, normally in my videos, I like to just get straight down to business because I value your time and mine. So I don't like to waste time. But this video is likely going to be, I don't know exactly how long, but I'm going to say roughly 3 hours or so. There's going to be a lot of information that teaches you basically everything that you need to know. This isn't something where you're just going to sit there and half listen for 20 minutes and come out a genius on the other side. It doesn't work that way. So grab yourself a coffee, get something to eat, go to the bathroom and do whatever it is that you got to do, and then come back and get dialed in and be ready to learn, because you're going to need to really sit down and just, take in this information if you guys actually want to learn how to do this stuff. So with that being said, before we jump straight into the video, I want to take a few minutes and just kind of give an outline of what we're going to cover, just give you some basic information and some helpful tips that you might want to know before we get started. So if that sounds good to you, take a seat and let's get into it. Now here's a general outline of most of the stuff that we're going to cover in this video. There might be a few extras. I don't really know yet because I don't do scripted videos. I just make an outline and then I just kind of go with it. So the first thing that we're going to cover is how to actually install the software that you need in order to write and execute smart contracts. We're going to go over how to create testnet accounts on the Wax blockchain, how to get Wax on the testnet, and how to deploy your contracts on the testnet. And then I'll also show you how to do it on mainnet. I'm going to show you how to write and compile your own Wax smart contracts. I'm going to show you how to listen for events and react to them within your smart contract. So for example, if you want to pay attention and find out when somebody made some transfer to your contract, and then you want to react to it by burning that asset or sending them something back, I'm going to show you how to do that. I'm going to show you how to accept assets from people and send assets back to people. We're going to cover some basic security practices, some stuff that you definitely want to know before you go deploying contracts, especially if you plan on handling other people's money. You don't want to be not knowing what you're doing, writing contracts, putting them out on the mainnet, taking people's money in the contract, and having some major security flaw. So we're going to cover some very basic stuff, some just checks and balances that everybody out there should know how to run. I'm going to show you how to deploy a contract using a Ledger hardware wallet, which can't be done using the same method as the regular way, but I'm going to show you how to do that by using your own React application. So it's beneficial if you have some knowledge of React too, but if you don't, that's fine. I'm going to show you how to define logic where you can check other people's smart contracts for information, look stuff up in someone else's contract, and do that with inside your own smart contract so that you can do some kind of action based on that info. If that doesn't make sense, just picture maybe you want to look up something on the Atomic Assets contract to find out something about some NFT, but you want to do that from within your own contract so that you can do something. I'm going to show you guys how to do that. I'm going to show you how RAM and CPU work inside smart contracts, not just a basic, what are RAM and CPU on the Wax blockchain. I've already made a video about that. This is going to be more about how do you actually handle these resources within your smart contract? Which actions use which things? How do you charge other people for certain stuff? What trade-offs do you make if you choose to go one route instead of the other route? What's more efficient in terms of RAM? Or what's more efficient in terms of CPU? I'm going to cover all that stuff. I'm going to show you how to charge other people for RAM if that's what you choose to do within your smart contract, how to navigate tricky situations where it might normally be difficult to charge someone else RAM instead of having your contract to pay for it. And I'm also going to talk about indexing within tables, primary keys and secondary indexes, and upper bounds and lower bounds and all that stuff. Scopes within tables. Now, if all that sounds like gibberish to you, that's all right. It's basically just how data design works, how data design works, however you want to pronounce it. It's just going to be how you structure your data within your contract so that you can easily look things up. This also ties back into the RAM and CPU costs. This is going to be important information if you want to make sure your contract is optimal in terms of how you handle CPU and RAM, and just also for being able to look stuff up easily. because if there's something that you need to know when somebody sends you a token, for example, you're going to need to be able to look that information up easily. So I'm going to teach you how to do that properly so that you can structure your data in a way that makes sense. And that's most of what we're going to cover. Now, before we move forward with the actual tutorial, I also just want to kind of give a few pieces of information, stuff that you might want to know before you go forward with the video. One of those things would be Wax smart contracts use the programming language C++. Now, if you don't have any knowledge of C++, it's all right technically. I mean, you can still learn from this video. You'll probably still be able to deploy a contract, but it's highly recommended that you have a basic understanding of C++ before we move forward, because this is not a basic introduction to C++. This is not a C++ beginner's course. I'm not going to be stopping on like every little thing that I do to explain what C++ syntax that is and all that stuff. So if you don't understand C++ and you try to watch this, you'll still learn stuff, but there are going to be points in the video where you're going to be pretty confused because I'm going to write out some, couple lines of code, and you're going to be like, what did he just write? I don't understand that. I'll do my best to walk you through it, but I highly suggest that you have some C++ knowledge beforehand. There's plenty of tutorials out there on YouTube that are free. You can also read books. One course that I would highly recommend myself, if you want to go that route before you watch this, is C++ for Beginners by Caleb Curry on YouTube. He has like an 8-hour course. I think there's a couple of them. I learned a lot from that guy. He's very good at teaching and not that boring to watch. So I would recommend watching him, but you can watch any C++ course you want. It's also recommended that you have some JavaScript knowledge, preferably React also, but if not, that's totally fine. It's pretty much optional, to be honest. It's just there's going to be a point in this video where I show you how to do certain things, let's say off-chain, where you might want to have a script on your computer that kind of calls an action in your contract. And that's going to require EOS.js, which is a JavaScript library for coding on Wax and EOS. And also, there's going to be a part of the video where I show you how to deploy contracts or execute transactions from a hardware wallet that you normally wouldn't be able to do, just using the tools that are available for Wax. But if you have your own React application, you'll be able to do this, which obviously requires some React knowledge. But if you don't know anything about React, I wouldn't suggest trying to learn it all before you watch this, because it's going to take you a long time to master it. So that's kind of optional. One other thing I want to point out before we go forward is just the difference between EOSIO and Antelope. And that is basically that there is no difference. They're the same thing. EOSIO just rebranded recently to Antelope. This is just the infrastructure. It's the underlying technology that we're going to be building these contracts on. So when you hear me refer to EOSIO or Antelope throughout the video, just know that they're the same thing. I'll probably use them interchangeably. I'll probably mostly be saying EOSIO, even though that's really incorrect at this point. I should be saying Antelope, but just know that they mean the same thing. And lastly, before we go forward, last thing I want to mention is just that I am not a professional developer. Like, I know what I'm doing, but I'm not a pro. I'm not a senior developer. I don't have that much experience. If you're a senior developer and you're just watching this for some sort of brush up course, or maybe there's just a couple tips and tricks you want to learn, that's fine. But just know that there are going to be points in the video where you'll probably get pissed off because you're going to see me write like 50 lines of code for something you could probably do in like 3 lines of code. That's just the way it is. I don't claim to be the best, but I at least know what I'm doing enough to get things done and to handle people's assets properly without, any security risks. So that's what matters the most to me. But yeah, I'm not going to be as efficient as somebody who really knows their stuff. Okay, now with all that out of the way, all the groundwork is laid. Before we get into the actual tutorial, there's just some resources that I want to give to you guys before we move forward. These are websites or just pages that are going to be helpful to you throughout this video and afterwards. So this is just stuff that you might want to know about, so that if you have a question, you'll be able to refer to this, or you'll be able to ask a community member. The first one is developers.eos.io. This is the documentation for writing smart contracts on EOS and Wax. This is where all your questions are answered. Every question that you have is probably in here documented somewhere. So anything that you need to know about data types or how a certain thing works, how you install something, all that stuff is going to be in here. I'll link all these resources below the video, by the way. So this is developers.eos.io. And if you want to get started, you just click on the Get Started button here. And it's basically going to walk you through how you do everything. But I'm going to teach you that stuff anyway. But this is here if you need it. One other thing that's going to be very helpful to you is the Wax Discord. There's a developer channel. It's called Community Development or something like that. I forget. Community Dev maybe. That's in the Wax Discord. I'll link that below as well. That's where all my questions got answered when I was a noob and I had no idea what I was doing. I asked really stupid questions and I got some great answers, and that's what helped me get to where I am today. So I highly recommend, if you have any questions, that you go in there and ask. However, make sure you do some research first. Nobody's going to spoon feed you. People are happy to answer questions, but you got to at least show that you tried. So, go on Google first, type in your question, and if you don't find the answer, then go in the Discord and ask. The same thing applies for the Antelope Developers Telegram, which I will link below as well. There's some very smart people in there that are also very helpful. I personally had more luck, I would say, in the Discord, but there is that Telegram channel as well if you want that. Then there's the WaxDAO Telegram, which is my Telegram channel for my project. There's not a bunch of developers in there or anything, but I'm there, and that's probably the best way you can find me. So if there's a question you want to ask me, just pop into the WaxDAO Telegram. It's t.me/hoodpunks, and I'll link that below the video as well. And then lastly, I already mentioned this, but the C++ course by Caleb Curry, I'll link that below the video also, and that'll teach you everything you need to know about C++ if you're interested in that. And now with all that out of the way, we are ready to learn how to write smart contracts on Wax. Okay, so the first thing that we need to do here is install the EOSIO binaries, the EOSIO software. If you go to developers.eos.io and then you go to the Getting Started Guide, Setup Development Environment, you'll come to this page right here. And before you start, it's going to tell you what the system requirements are. So if I click on that, it'll show you the operating systems that are compatible. I'm using a Mac myself, and that's what I'm going to be walking you through. So your process might be slightly different if you're using Linux, for example. It says that Amazon Linux 2, CentOS 8, CentOS 7, Ubuntu 20, and Ubuntu 18 are all supported here. I don't know about Windows. You might want to ask about that in the Wax Developers Discord. But Linux and Mac are definitely supported. I'm using Mac. It's got to be 10.14 or above. So as long as you meet those requirements, then you can move forward. And the first thing that you're going to want to do is install the EOSIO binaries. So if we click on this, it's going to tell you that you have the option to use the pre-built binaries or build from source if you want. We're just going to use the pre-built ones. And you're going to need Brew installed on your Mac. If you don't know what Brew is, it's basically just a library or a tool that allows you to execute some commands that are normally only available on Linux. So if you're using Mac, you just have to install Brew. If you don't know how to install Brew, you can just Google how to install Brew on Mac. It's not that hard, but there's also a link right here. So if you click on this, it just tells you exactly what to do to install Homebrew. You need this command right here. So you just copy it. You open up your terminal, and if you're on a Mac, you can just press Command space on your keyboard, type in terminal, and then click terminal here. I already have terminal opened on my other screen, so I'm just going to open up a new window and pull it up here. And here we are on this basic terminal screen. So now if I just press paste, Command V, it's going to paste. I click enter. It's going to ask for a password. It's going to tell you what's going to be installed, and then you can just hit enter. Now, as you can see here, it took a minute, but it says the installation was successful. And now we're ready to move forward. So I'm just going to move this terminal window out of the way. and go back to the page here. All right, so the first command that we need to enter is brew tap EOSIO. This is basically going to get the files that we need but not install them yet. So I'm going to paste that into the terminal here and then hit enter. Keep in mind, actually, before you do this, I should have said this a minute ago, before you do any of this, when you open up your terminal, make sure you don't navigate into any other folders. The best thing that you can do when you open up your terminal is just type CD and then hit enter. Do that before you install anything, because what this CD stands for change directory, for those of you who don't know. And if you don't put anything in after it and you just type CD, it's going to bring you to the root of your computer. It's going to bring you to the base, not in any random folder, but right at the root. That's where you're going to want to be, because it matters. It matters where you install stuff. You're going to run into problems later if you install something in some random subfolder and then, you try to compile a contract, but it can't find what it needs because it's looking in the root and your stuff's not there. So make sure you're in the root before you do any of this stuff. CD, enter, and then after that, now you can paste this brew tap EOSIO command, hit enter. Basically what it just did was kind of got some stuff that we need, and now we have to actually install it. Now, I have it installed already, so I don't know what's going to happen here, but I'm going to paste this command into my terminal, making sure that I'm still in the root, and hit enter. Warning, it's already installed and up to date, right? So I'm fine. I'm not going to move forward with this. However, for you, you're not going to get this message unless you have it installed already. So it might take a few minutes to install. I don't know how long it takes, but just hit enter, go through with the process. And then once that's done, now you need to set up a development directory and stick to it. Notice how I just said that a minute ago. Install stuff in the root, right? So it matters where you put your stuff. So again, after your stuff is installed, just type CD and hit enter. Make sure you're in the root of your computer. And now you're going to type mkdir. And what that stands for is make directory. It's just going to create, it's the same thing as right clicking and creating a new folder, but you're just doing it through the command line here. mkdir space, and then you're going to just type whatever the name you want to be for your folder. So you can call it, tutorial contracts or whatever. Just call it contracts. Make directory, tutorial contracts. I think I have one called contracts already. So I'm just going to hit enter now. And now I can CD into it, change directory into that folder. So CD, tutorial, contracts. I'm now in that actual folder. Remember before I told you to CD into the root? If you hit CD and just hit enter, it's going to bring you back to root. See how it just says my username here? But a minute ago, it said my username plus the folder that I was in. So I'm just going to copy that again to go back into that folder. CD, tutorial contracts, and you can see I'm now in that folder again. Then it says my username after that. Now I know I'm in that folder, and just to make sure, you can type this command here, and it'll tell you exactly where you are. PWD, and you can see I'm in the tutorial contracts folder. And if you want, you can also type that path or paste it into this little field here on the page and hit submit query. What that's basically going to do is it's going to customize the whole tutorial for you, so that when you go through this website, instead of saying you need to go into your contracts folder, it's going to have it look all customized to you. It's going to say you need to go into the tutorial contracts folder or whatever, So it's just going to pretty it up and make it custom for you. So that's up to you. If you want to type tutorial contracts here, and then now it knows what my folder name is. Next step is to install the CDT. This is the contract development toolkit. You need this in order to compile your contracts. So all you did so far was install some EOSIO software, but you didn't actually install everything that you need. So now we have to go back into terminal, and we're going to have to tap another library here. We're basically just going to fetch it from the internet so that we have it available when we want to install it. So copy this first line here, brew tap EOSIO CDT. Paste it into your terminal, brew tap EOSIO CDT, and hit enter. And then now brew install EOSIO.cdt. We're going to copy this bottom line here, paste it into the terminal, hit enter. And you can see that I already have it installed here, so I don't need to. But for you, that's obviously not going to be the case. Okay, so now that you have all the software and tools set up, the next thing that you're going to want to do is create a development wallet. And you can do that by clicking on this link at the bottom here. Well, you don't really need to. This is just going to walk you through how to do it, but I'm going to do that anyway. So you just need to open up your console again, your terminal, and type the following command, cleos wallet create. Now, I'm not going to use exactly what it says in here. I would get an error if I did this because I already have the default wallet created. You can follow this if you want to, but I'm going to show you how to create a custom wallet. So I would just type at the end here, -n, and that signals that I want to add a name for this wallet. So I'll just call it coding tutorial. And then I have to say file, and this is going to be the file name that I want to save the password to, because it's going to generate a password for me. Now, if you type this default thing here to console, it would just show the password right in the console, which is fine. I'm just going to create a file, so I'll just call it tutorial password.txt and hit enter. And now when I want to unlock this wallet, I'll have to find that file. And if I go into my tutorial contracts folder, you can see that I have this file here called tutorial password.txt. And if I open it, there's this password that got auto-generated for me. Now, I don't really care if you see this because I'm not going to use this wallet, but you're going to need this password if you ever want to access this. So make sure you don't lose it, and make sure you keep backups and all that stuff. This is not a private key, by the way. This is just a password to actually access it within the command line. You're still going to have to import private keys into here when you want to add wallets to it and all that stuff. This is literally just a wallet that holds private keys in it. You still have to add those private keys though. So like it says here on the page, these wallets are closed by default, and you have to open them if you want to actually use them for anything. So you just have to type the following command, cleos wallet open. If you're using the default wallet and you didn't follow my last step the way that I did it, if you just did the default way, then this is all you need to type. But if you created a specific wallet with your own custom name like I did, then you need to also type -n to signal name, that you want to enter the name of the wallet, and then you have to actually put the wallet name. So coding tutorial, so it's cleos wallet open -n and then the name of the wallet, and then hit enter, and now you can see my wallet is opened. If you want to get a list of wallets, you type cleos wallet list, hit enter, and you can see I've got 3 wallets, or 4 wallets, I guess. I deleted one before because I made a mistake. Okay, now that the wallet is opened, it's still not unlocked. I know it's kind of confusing, but now you need to type cleos wallet unlock, and then also -n in the name of the wallet. I'm pretty sure there's a setting for this somewhere that prevents it from locking like all the time on you. I don't exactly know where that setting is, but let me know if you find it, because it's really annoying having to do this like every 10 minutes when I'm trying to update contracts. But yeah, you just hit enter. It's going to ask you for the password, and now I have to open that file. So this is the password that it generated for me before, and if I copy it and paste it into the terminal, hit enter, my wallet is now unlocked. So if you want, you can create a new private and public key pair in the wallet by typing cleos wallet create key. I'm pretty sure you would also have to put the name flag here. So you'd have to put cleos wallet -n coding tutorial create key. And so the correct syntax is CLES wallet, create key, -n, and then coding tutorial. And then as you can see, it generated the new private key here, and the public key is this one right here. Now, you don't have to do it this way through the terminal. You can also just import a wallet. So let's say you have an existing wallet, you already have a private key and a public key. You can just import the private key into the wallet by typing CLES wallet import. I believe you also want to put that name flag again. So name, coding tutorial. And it's going to ask you for the private key that you want to import. So all you have to do is paste the private key here, hit enter. I'm not going to do that right now because I don't need to, but invalid private key for me because I didn't actually paste the real key there. But that's how you import a private key into your wallet.